Oklahoma City could get extremely scary pretty damn quickly, okay? The Thunder are already a much improved team from last year, but there's a chance that they get very, very scary very, very quickly. #bars, okay? So I think that this should actually get talked about a lot more than it actually gets talked about. And the reason I say this is for a few different reasons. If the season ended today, if the season just like, no, we're done, we're ending it, the Oklahoma City Thunder would have a 14% chance at a top 4 pick and a 3% chance at the number 1 overall pick. So although not great odds by any means, they're also not terrible odds either. Like, no one actually has quote unquote good odds. They have better odds, but they don't have good odds. So 3% is very doable and has definitely been done before. So it's not like they have a no chance of doing it. And they actually have a fairly good chance. I mean, 14% isn't bad at all for a chance at a top 4 pick in an absolutely stacked draft class. And then you bring in the fact that they're only a half a game back of getting even better odds, at least slightly better odds of doing this. In this class is so stacked, and this team is already so young and so littered with young talent, they have a very real shot to be adding an extremely good piece to this roster that already has a ton of extremely good pieces. And if you really look at it, like I said, if the NBA stopped today, look at where their draft case scenarios would go. Best case scenario, they get a top 2 pick. I mean, well, best case scenario, I guess you get the first overall pick, but the second one, it wouldn't be terrible either. And you either get Scoot Henderson or you get Victor Wembanyama. And you either get a front court of Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren, which would be absolutely freaky. Like, that would be scary to look at in itself due to how they're built and just everything that they can do. Or you could get a backcourt of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was in MVP talks early in the season, and Scoot Henderson. Now, I don't know what you would do with Josh Giddey, because he has been very good as well, and I'm going to get into him a little bit later. But you would still be getting an extremely talented player either way, and that is the best case scenario. But then you look at their most probable case scenario, where they get a pick 6 through 10, they can still easily add other guys that have star potentials, like Nick Smith Jr., Cam Whitmore, one of the Thompson twins, Brandon Miller if he falls there, Gregory Jackson. Like, there's so much talent in this draft, and all of them legitimately, you could argue, have star potential, and that is the most probable option, that their pick falls between the 6th and 10th pick, which is an extremely beneficial position to be in, to say most likely we are at least going to be getting an extremely good player that has a very high ceiling. And then even worst case scenario, their lottery pick falls somewhere between the 11th to 14th pick. They can still get other guys, and for you draft junkies like me that follow the draft, they can still get guys like Jet Howard, Chris Murray, Taylor Hendricks, Jarace Walker, like any of these other players also have extremely high upsides. Now, maybe they don't have the star potential that you could argue the other guys before them had, but they could still be extremely valuable players to this Oklahoma City roster and would definitely make them better. And in my opinion, and that is the worst case scenario, that's not even the most likely. So most likely, they're going to have a chance to add an all-star level player, and even if they hit a home run, they have a chance to have a generational talent on their roster. And that is already going to be getting added to an already borderline play and level team that they have right now this season. To really emphasize how important it would be to add a extremely good player through the draft, let's break down how good this team already is. So obviously the headliner on this roster is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who, like I said earlier, was in early talks in the MVP conversation. He was on a lot of people's MVP ladders, and in this year he is currently playing like an absolute superstar, averaging 31 points per game, 4.8 rebounds per game, 5.7 assists per game on 51% shooting from the field, and is legitimately one of the best players in the entire league. And you could definitely argue he can 100% be the second piece on an NBA level, finals level team, but he could maybe even be a Batman on an NBA playoff team or NBA finals team. That is yet to be seen. He's never made the playoffs, but I'm sure by next year, or maybe even this year if they can keep winning, you could definitely see him in a playoff series in the near future. So I think for sure Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, although he still has to prove it, could definitely be a number 1 option on a playoff level team. And then their second player is going to be Josh Giddey. Now, Josh Giddey has kind of gone under the radar since his rookie season, but he has not for his lack of production. He has improved in pretty much every major statistical category, despite getting actually 1 less minute. As this year, he is currently averaging 4 more points per game than his rookie year, 5 more rebounds per game, and more assists per game as well, on 6% shooting from the 3-point line, 5% better shooting from the 3-point line, and 7% shooting better from the field. around. So he has definitely been a much improved player. And like I said, he's doing that on less minutes. He's been a much improved player from his rookie year, which was a very good rookie year. And he has really just been building on a very good season so far. And he is projecting to even get even better going into the future. So I think their backcourt is pretty much set as far as they can go into the future, as long as they don't get the second overall pick in the lottery, where they would probably select Scoot Henderson or trade the pick, no telling. And then the next player I want to get into is going to be Legence Dort. Legence Dort has quickly became one of the more underrated players in the entire NBA, not because he's a great scorer, not because he's going to shock you with athleticism or anything like that, but just due to how hard he works. He's an extremely hard worker. He's going to get on the ground, go for the 50-50 balls. He's an extremely high effort player. He can even score the ball when he needs to. His shot and everything has improved since he's been in the NBA, and he has just quickly became one of those role players that every single NBA fan base loves to have on their team, no matter if they're a good team or a bad team. And then obviously their rookie Jalen Williams without the Y, the one that spells it with only an L, should I say, is currently most definitely having an all-rookie season, and he was picked with the 11th overall pick, I'm pretty sure. So he's definitely becoming one of these steals of the draft, and it was a great pick by the Oklahoma City Thunder. And like I said, he's going to be an all-rookie team. He has an extremely bright future as well, and is just another addition to this extremely young and high-ceiling, high-talented team. The next player I want to get into is going to be Trey Mann. Trey Mann, although probably not having even as good of a season as his rookie year, like he's another one of those players that's getting less minutes, less opportunity, but he has still shown flashes of the reason why they picked him. He's been very solid as well, and I think for sure his ceiling hasn't been met yet, and he still has a very good way to grow going into the future. Now, even for one of the coolest stories in the league is Isaiah Joe. Now, if you're kind of a more diehard NBA fan, you would know Isaiah Joe is having a bounce back of his career right now. He is having by far the best year of his career out of the 3 years he's been in the NBA. With the Philadelphia 76ers, he really couldn't find a consistent role. He got cut from them, and he was kind of in free agency. Then he got signed with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he has been a extremely big piece to this team. He is playing very good, by far the best basketball of his career, and he is only 23 years old. So his ceiling is extremely high. No telling how good of a role player he could be for them in the future, and they really were able to find a diamond in the rough in Isaiah Joe. I'd also like to mention Chet Holmgren hasn't even played a game for them this year, obviously going down in the preseason with a bad injury, and he hasn't even got to play a game for them, but he was the second overall pick. He has extremely high upside. He's showed what he could do in the summer league. Now, although the summer league isn't a guarantee for production in the actual NBA, it is a very good sign for how good he was in the summer league in the games that he did play, and I think it is going to be very fun to watch him if he can ever get on the floor and stay healthy. But he is just another one of those guys that's going to greatly raise his ceiling by himself. Jalen Williamson, now this one, the one that you do spell with a Y and an L, Jalen Williamson, although he hasn't been a great player for them, they are starting to try to develop him. He's been their starting center for the past few games. He's been very solid. He's had multiple games where he has shown flashes, and although he is a 6'9" center and very undersized, he's still holding his own down there and showing that he can be a very solid player in today's NBA. And then the last player I want to get into is going to be a player that almost none of you probably know unless you are a Oklahoma City Thunder fan or probably a Utah Jazz fan, and that is going to be Jared Butler. They just recently signed Jared Butler from the G League, and although he hasn't had the best NBA career to this point, he's been always very good in the G League. He always puts up number in the summer league. He was the 40th overall pick in 2021, and he's actually been extremely solid. And in the one game with the Thunder where he's gotten over 10 minutes, he actually put up a very nice stat line, and in the 16 minutes he got to play, he put up 5 points, 3 steals, and 4 assists on 50% shooting from the three-point line. So he put up a very impressive stat line for only 16 minutes, and really, if you go back and look at his NBA career, anytime he gets at least like 15 minutes in a game, for the vast majority of those games, he played at a very good level. So I think for sure Jared Butler could develop into a role player. I think he is a very nice young player for them to add, and I think he's going to hopefully get some minutes down here with the stretch with the Thunder, and I think he could definitely actually make them better and be a legitimate piece for them going towards the future. For you guys, that's more for this video, so comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think the Thunder could get very scary very quickly? How good do you think they can be going in the future? I want to hear our thoughts in the comment section below. If you like me, point, hit the like button and subscribe button. I mean the absolute word to me, and I hope you have a blessed day, because I had a blessed day, so you need to have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo blah.